And astonishing goal. That's the way to do it. Herrera. Ibrahimovic! With 3.5 minutes to play. Now Di Maria wants it back, gets it back. Fantastic.
That's the luck of the bounce off Gaston Ramirez. Top try! What a day this is turning out to be for Manchester United.
Mason Greenwood hits the spot.
In he goes towards Muriel. What a save, David De Gea. Brilliant save.
And James. Dream debut. Daniel James.
Hello and welcome back to the United Devils podcast. This week we will be looking at every Manchester United player that has played post Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement, and we will be looking at who is the best of the best, and in a combined 11 of these last 7 years. And with me today, I welcome back Jayson. And as we haven't heard from you in a while, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Still, obviously, everything up in the air. Still trying to figure out what's happening. And I'm in New Jersey, so it's pretty much one of the epicenters of this pandemic, at least for the United States. So it's still pretty scary. How about you?
Yeah, just kind of trying to get as much work done with the least amount of motivation, really.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just sort of about keeping yourself busy, really, making sure you don't get.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's very true, because if you leave yourself to think about it, it becomes your mind can go to bad places if you're not keeping yourself busy, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, this is one of the things we're going to do to be keeping ourselves busy. We're going to be looking at all the players that have played since Sir Alex Ferguson's departure. So in these last 7 years, and obviously it's not been the most fruitful. We've only won 4 trophies total, unless you want to include the Community Shields, which I guess we could do. We might as well. So, you know, it is a huge step down from what we've been watching for the last couple decades, let's say. And but the thing is there have been some brilliant players. We have had some really good moments, as well as some really generally awful moments, but we won't be looking towards the negative side. We'll be looking towards the best of the best. And today we'll be doing a combined 11 on who have been the best players that have played since Sir Alex left. So we should probably start with a formation. And what would you prefer to have your team set out as?
Well, formations for me, I've always kind of thought of them more in terms of defense rather than offense, because, you know, for me, sometimes, you know, we've seen it when United's looked very good and been dominating games. Sometimes it looks like a 1-9, right? But, you know, I was thinking for some version of a 4-4-2, maybe like a 4-1-2-1-2 or a 4-4-2 with a diamond. What were you thinking? I kind of always fall back on the 4-4-2 being standard and having movement within the 4-4-2. What do you think?
Well, yeah, the 4-4-2 is obviously the infamous formation Sir Alex won so many titles with. But then since he's left, I thought it'd be a bit more fitting to have done either a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, something that we've been using quite a lot recently. A 4-3-3, especially when Pogba and Matic came in, and then you put in Herrera, or even in Van Gaal's season when you had Carrick, Herrera and Fellaini in that midfield three, and Mata on the right, Young on the left, and Rooney up front. I mean, it worked a treat for a brief period in the late stage of the 2014-15 season. And even when we won the FA Cup, it was a 4-1-4-1, which is basically a defensive 4-3-3. So, I mean, I'm happy with a 4-4-2, to be honest. I think that seems the most sort of almost poetic in that sense.
Because it's funny, because the 4-4-2, everyone kind of makes fun of the 4-4-2 and considers it like the basic formation and the only formation people who don't know the game know. But within the 4-4-2, I've always felt that that's where it's like a chicken and egg thing. All those formations that you mentioned to me are versions of a 4-4-2, like a 4-1-2, a 4-1-2-1-2, or even the 3 at the back. I mean, really, it starts with that's why I said before, it starts with the defense, because you really got to figure out what your back line is going to be. So, I mean, I think we're both right. The 4-4-2, I think, would be the easiest one to do. Although, you know what? I don't know. It was kind of hard because there's players that are so tailored to different positions within the 4-4-2 framework that it did. I'm interested to see actually who you picked, because it's going to really maybe sway my mind on whether we change the formation to put players in to make them fit rather than leaving players out.
Let's begin, and I think we should obviously start with the goalkeeper. Who have you picked?
Well, I think this is going to be the easiest thing, and it's clearly Sergio Romero. No, I'm just kidding. It's De Gea for sure. although Romero, we have to mention him. He's been very good, but De Gea for sure. Obviously, I'm sure you 100% agree.
I was actually thinking more about Victor Valdez. Really, no.
He's been quite good as well. So you gotta.
Yeah. No, David De Gea has just been outstanding. So glad we've managed to, I'd say, almost trick him into signing 2 new contracts. But
you know what? That's fair.
Yeah. He's fantastic, and he just needs to get his good form, and then he'll be back to his best. But
right.
That's all we really need to say.
If we did a poll, like if we did this, combined 11 as a poll, he would be 100% or 99.9 with someone just trying to be funny,
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's the definite.
We'll move very swiftly on then to the right back.
Oof, who'd you pick? I'm gonna make you go first.
Yeah. I was almost tempted to pick Aaron Wan-Bissaka because we obviously haven't had a lot of good right backs over the years. But I think if we'd have done this at the end of next season, I think he'd already definitely have been there. But because he's only been there for about 8 months, I'm gonna have to say Antonio Valencia.
Interesting.
The fact that he transformed from a right mid who was so keen on bombing forward and putting in the crosses and barely scored anyway, and the fact that he transformed so efficiently into a right back under Van Gaal. He started as a right wing back in a back 5 or a back 3, however you want to call it, and then basically as soon as Luke Shaw got injured and Darmian got pushed onto the left, Valencia got put onto the right and then kept it as his own through Van Gaal's last season, through Jose's first 3 seasons, until Solskjaer took over and Valencia was injured and there was all that mix up. I don't even know what he was doing, but for about 2.5 to maybe even 3 years, he was probably one of the best right backs in the Premier League. So I'd have to say
I think that's fair. I was toying with Ashley Young just because he's done so much for the club, and I feel like he was consistently decent for almost the entirety of the post Van Gaal post Sir Alex era. But yeah, I think in terms of the best play, I think you're onto it with Valencia. Valencia was legitimately the best back in the league at one point. Young obviously was never close to that. He was just consistently out there and decent. So yeah. I think you've convinced me. I was thinking Ashley Young, but Valencia I think is the right call.
Thank you. Should we? We'll move on to the 2 centre backs.
Yes.
Who have you got for them?
Well, I think though it's been such a short time, I think Maguire has to be there.
Absolutely,
because he's been so good, and we really have had. I've argued that the biggest problem the team has had since Sir Alex left was never replacing Vidic and Ferdinand. They've just never been replaced. There's been bodies put in those positions. There's been guys who have had some promise that looked okay for a short time. There have been guys that have been thrown into those positions like Paddy McNair and
Tyler Blackett.
and Blackett and even Michael Carrick, I believe, played center back, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, I think Maguire for sure is a definite. The other one I thought might be Lindelof, just based on talent. But what did you think for the second one?
Yeah, you said Victor Lindelof.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah. I was toying with Victor Lindelof, but honestly, he's been sort of there for. He's been here for what 3 seasons now, and he's had. Yeah, he's only had about 1.5 good ones.
Exactly.
I'd say about that. The one player that I do think has been the best of the bunch, not the best of the rest, other than Maguire. Not that should be any achievement, because most of the centre backs have been either inconsistent, injury prone, or just downright awful. Right. About Phil Jones just there. It has to be Chris Smalling, I think, for me.
You know what? I was toying with that. I looked at that because he was actually quite good for a stretch. And then he was just there for a stretch.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the reason why I picked Lindelof, and it's splitting hairs, because as you've mentioned, this is not a good position for United. This is why one of the reasons they're where they're at, right? Is the drop off. When Smalling had his drop off, it was terrible. Yeah, he wasn't even usable by the end of his rope here. But yeah, I mean, you're right though. He was good for a stretch, like a very long stretch. Actually, it was about 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah, it was the Mike Smalling stretch, I believe.
The Mike Smalling, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, to me, if you're going based on potential, I think it's Lindelof. But I think if you're going based on a guy who's actually put in some good shifts, I think Smalling's not a bad choice, although people are going to cringe.
I think if you base it on, because we're looking back as a sense, we're not, because otherwise then Wan-Bissaka would be in instead of Valencia, I guess. But if we're going for kind of who has been the best so far up to this period, and then it would be Smalling, and then if we were looking towards the next 5 years, it would be Lindelof. It's a coin toss. I'm happy for your decision. Who would you rather have in?
Oh, sorry, you cut out for a second. Between Smalling and Lindelof?
Yeah. I don't mind. It's your choice.
Oh man, you know what? I think you've convinced me again. I think because we're going based on performance since Sir Alex left, and if you're going on what's actually transpired, not what we think could transpire, I think it's fair to put Smalling there.
All right,
because he really was good for a stretch.
Yeah, he really was. Fun fact for you: in Van Gaal's first season for Manchester United, Smalling actually scored 4 goals in the Premier League, which is the same number as Falcao and 1 more than Di Maria. So
which is more of an indictment of those guys than praise Smalling. No, and he scored. I believe he scored in the final, in the Europa final. I believe
he got an assist in the final.
Was it an assist or a goal? It was an assist. Okay, it
was an assist. Yeah. He
So
set up Mkhitaryan's sort of overhead flick or whatever it was.
That's what it was. Okay, I knew he got on the score sheet. I couldn't remember how.
Yeah.
But that's one of the biggest goals, since Sir Alex left. That final,
really, to get us into the Champions League
moment.
100%. We are going to have to again use a position that hadn't really been nailed down in the last 7 years. It's a left back.
Yeah.
I'll give my suggestion. I think while Brandon Williams has done really well, he's going to be the one for the future. Luke Shaw has had his really off days, but then he has shown promise at times. But I think the person that's been the most consistent, while I'm thinking about Ashley Young at times, I do think Daley Blind was the more consistent player. He put in a great shift under Van Gaal. He was a very solid player under Mourinho for the first 2 seasons. Played at left back pretty much all of the 17-18 season until Young displaced him. But that's my choice. How about who have you got for
Daley Blind, again, this was hard to pick. And again, I think we're really nailing down one of the reasons why the team has been so inconsistent. I was thinking Luke Shaw just because when he's been good, he's been the best, But if any player is emblematic of this era, he is such the poster child for it, isn't he? He really is. Just the inconsistency, like the top form, and then the just being just outright where he can't even dribble the ball.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, he was initially my thought, and again, you've kind of in a back way nailed the problem with picking Ashley Young because Ashley Young's kind of played left back, right back, center back, defensive. How can a man who never had one position be one of the best players of the era?
Yeah.
So, I mean, gun to my head, I'd probably say Luke Shaw because I think he's been, at times the best performer.
Yeah.
But like you said, like it's his off days are so bad. Yeah. So I'll give you the final vote there. I would go with Shaw, but
yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think the fact is that while Daley Blind has been solid, he's been solid in 3 different positions, whereas Luke Shaw's been, when he's been good, he's been great, and when he's been bad, he's been pretty bad. But he's always been in that. He's always, you know what you're going to get with him. Whereas Blint, you'll have his off days and on days, and I'd rather put in Luke Shaw than Daley Blind, especially because Shaw's been here longer and has actually shown more promise over a longer period.
And Blind, with the thing about Blind, I like Daley Blind, but
yeah,
he wasn't bad. He was actually good. But he was, to me, a player that he's an average player on an average side. You know what I mean? He's not going to hurt you. He's not going to particularly help you, but he's not going to, he's replaceable. He's like a replacement player. I don't mean to denigrate him. I think there's value in that. But there's no upside with Daley Blind. Like there's no, okay, we're going to play Daley Blind, and if he can have his, one of his brilliant games, he'll take over he'll take it over. He's just not capable of that. What he's capable of is just not messing up.
Yeah, he's sort of better than a player, better than a squad player, but not good enough to be a regular first team player.
Right.
That
if
really
your entire squad is made up of, if your entire squad is made up of Daley Blinds, you're going to finish like between 9th and 11th. You'll not make a lot of mistakes, and you'll not have very many brilliant days.
You'll be Burnley.
You'll basically be Burnley. Yeah, pretty much.
There we go.
and there's nothing wrong with
that.
You know what? If I was a Premier League owner, it would be frustrating because you never win anything, but I wouldn't mind being Burnley. No fear of a drop. Yeah. Playing for a Europa spot occasionally when you're good. When you're bad, you're not that bad. It's not a bad position to be in. But, if you're trying to win trophies, you're trying to be great, you need better than Blind, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've sought out our back 4 and goalkeeper. So we've got De Gea, Valencia, Smalling, Maguire, and Shaw. We should move on to the centre midfield pairing. So who have you gone for?
Well, I think you got to go Pogba. I think he's got to be in the side. He's just the most talented player the squad has had. He's been, again, somewhat emblematic of the era in that he's been, injured. He's been, mind games. It's been crazy agents and, all kinds of nuts and nonsense. But I think if you're not putting him in the side, I think you just don't like him. If we did an 11 without him, like it would be simply just trying to take a shot at Pogba. So I think he's got to be in there. Do you agree?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, can't deny that. He's probably one of the best, if not the best on his day, the best midfielder in the world. He's going to be one of the best midfielders in the world for the next 5 years, if not longer. He's already a World Cup winner.
I was going to say, and he's had his moments in the United shirt. It's not like he's gone with. I mean, he was instrumental in winning the Europa. He helped us win a FA Cup. He's a good He's been good. He's just not been the superstar people want him to be.
Yeah, obviously, and the price tag had something to do with that.
Of course, definitely.
No but you can't do anything about that. That's just how it was. But yeah, he has to be in there. I totally agree. Who's the other person you chose?
Yeah, this was the tough one because I want to go McTominay so bad because I love how he is like elevated himself from a squad player to I don't know if this guy's good enough to now you can't imagine a team sheet without him on it. So I want to pick him so bad, but I think you've got to go Herrera. What do you think?
I was thinking that there were three players that came to mind for me. Herrera was obviously the standout because he's been there since pretty much the second season without Sir Alex, and he's played as an attacking midfielder at times. He's played as a ball-winning midfielder at times. He's played as the anchor at times. And whatever he's done with 100% of his energy, 100% of his motivation, and he's done everything he can for that club. And even though he left not on the best terms, he was still a fan favourite to the very end.
Yeah.
McTominay
consistently performed. He was very good all the time.
Absolutely.
There was never like, oh, I really hope, Herrera shows up today. It's like if he was in the sheet, you knew what you were going to get. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Then I also thought about Michael Carrick because even though he was on the decline, the 4 seasons that he played regularly for United, he was still the one player that would get the ball in a defensive position and play it forward. Van Gaal, under Moyes, under Mourinho, he would play it forward from the defensive side and he would allow someone like Herrera or Pogba to play a little bit more advanced. And so, and even in the seasons before Pogba joined, it would be Herrera and Rooney and Fellaini. That's pretty much all the good midfielders that we had.
Yep.
But he was someone that, you can't go and mention. He's probably one of the most underrated midfielders in Premier League history.
Yeah, no, I agree. He was very good for a team that actually accomplished some things, that won some trophies. And he had to earn his spot. Like he was displaced a couple times and fought his way back into the 11. You got to give him a lot of credit for what he did here. I mean, he's missed. There's no question he's missed. He would greatly have helped this team, especially before they got Bruno Fernandes. Like he would have he would have featured every week. There's no question.
Yeah.
And he was greatly missed and really wasn't replaced until Fernandes was brought in.
Absolutely. But yeah, and then obviously McTominay was my third choice. But yeah, I think personally it's between, because McTominay's been there for longer, so I'd say McTominay or Herrera, and I'm happy for you to make the decision.
Yeah, I think you got to go Herrera. I think going with McTominay would just be recency bias. I think it would just be that we've seen him more consistently lately, but McTominay really just started his ascent. I mean, at this time last year, we weren't even sure if he was going to be in the squad, So I think you've got to go Herrera. I think that's the right choice.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. We'll move on then to our right midfielder or right winger, if you want to say it like that.
So here's where it gets dicey with positioning.
Yeah, there it is, yeah.
Because we almost have to figure out who we want to play and then figure out where to play him. Because I thought of Martial in that spot. I thought maybe of Rashford in that spot. I'm just not sure. I thought possibly Mata, although he more is a left side player.
Yeah, that's who I went for. I went for Juan Mata, just basically because not only has he actually been one of the more consistent players throughout this period. I mean, he was brought in by Moyes. I think he got 5 goals in his first half a season, and then he got 10 goals the season after. He was consistent under Mourinho, even though Mourinho seemed like he was going to try and push him away. And then even under Solskjaer, while he's not played as much, he's been consistent when he has played. And really, it does show, it kind of symbolizes just how underly invested our right-hand side was over this last 7 years, since Nani left, pretty much. and it really does say a lot. So my choices matter.
Yeah, and you know what? Mata's kind of where I landed also. And the weird thing about that, as I put his name on the page, like he's come off the bench so much, so it's almost like we're starting him, but he comes off the bench. So, and then the other thought I had, and I don't know if this, and again, this goes back to you can mess around with positioning. People forget, the first couple years post Sir Alex, Rooney was still very good. And he played some midfield. I mean, that was a big controversy. He dropped back to play that right mid and played a little of the left side as well. And they kind of tried to make him what Beckham turned into in MLS, like just basically sitting back and going forward whenever he kind of felt like it, and not running as much. And he had scored, I think, 25 goals in the first couple of seasons since, post Sir Alex, like in that 13-14 and 14-15. I think he's totaled about 24 or 25 goals. So he was the other guy I thought of. And I think if you're going to go consistently, I think Matt is a good shout. I really do. He was the good name I had settled on. So I guess we both have to kind of go with that, because you settled on it and I settled on it. So
it seems that's
so
sort of
seems right.
Yeah. It's sort of what it is, really. But we were I remember doing podcasts all the way back in the summer when we were saying that if Juan Mata was still starting on the right hand side when the season began, it's a mistake, and it sort of just explains how much we haven't invested in that side, that right hand side.
Right. Yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. It sort of does show what we have been lacking. But then when he has come in, I mean, I remember Juanfield when he basically won United the game at Anfield 2-1 with his it was a right-footed finish and then a scissor kick. So, he's been consistent even in a position that was never really his.
Correct.
In the sense that he is just a centre attacking midfielder.
Exactly.
But he's done so well, he has to be there, really.
And again, it's important to realize as we do this exercise and put this team out, this has been a bad era of United football. Like part of the reason why, a guy like Mata is getting considered, and again, no slight to him. I like Mata. I think he's done everything he's been asked to do. To me, he's another version of Ashley Young with more goals, But, the fact that he is the starting right attacking mid on our all post Sir Alex team is kind of it's kind of an indictment of the era, and it's fair. It's kind of like saying, yes, he's earned the spot. It's his spot. But take a step back and realize this is the problem. You're exactly right when you say that if he's still the starting midfielder at this point, it's a huge mistake. And it was. But the facts are he kind of still is. Yeah. So, I mean, even though he's coming off the bench a lot, he's still featuring a lot. He's still figuring into the plan. And again, it really does indict the era. It's really kind of why we're not a top 2 team anymore, and I think sometimes the best of an era is not good,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are all hoping that this will change this summer window. Obviously, Sancho is the name that everyone is saying, including ourselves. And hopefully those changes will be made this summer. But with the current situation, you never really know. But let's move on to the left hand side, and I think there's going to be a few more names than on the right that we can consider. So who have you thought about putting
again here? I played with positioning a lot, and here's where I kind of hit a wall. I kind of threw Rashford in there, even though he's played a lot of forward. And I thought about Martial as well. If you look at my team sheet, I have arrows all over the place. And I was kind of relying on you to kind of break the tie. I thought about Martial because to me he's really been a winger. but I don't know. What do you think? I think I would probably settle on Martial. He's been so good, but most of his success to me has been at forward. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing
What a
is,
mess.
for when you compare the two, I mean, Rashford started a few months later than Martial. I mean,
Correct.
Martial's played I think it's 7 games more than Rashford, and they've got the same number of goals. Both got 64 goals each.
Right.
And it is obviously difficult to determine which one. I mean, they've obviously been fighting for that place under Jose, and while they didn't compete as much under Solskjaer, they more played together. You could kind of see that Martial was always longing to go and play as a striker, and he has obviously performed exceptionally this season. Even though he's been injured for 2 months, he scored 16 goals.
Yes, correct.
And Rashford's been even more exceptional on the left. So I have to say, maybe make Martial compete for one of the striker positions, and I'm gonna have to go with Rashford.
Yeah, Rashford. If you look at my sheet, what I'm looking at right now, I have Rashford's name written down as a forward, but then I put an arrow back toward midfield, and then I put Martial in that spot we're talking about because I think of him more as a winger than a forward. But then the more I think about Martial, I feel like he's had more success as a forward. So I have his arrow forward. So it's almost like I feel like I want to put those two in the squad and then figure out positioning later. So, but I think you're right. I think Rashford makes more sense. And having Martial compete for the forward spot, because again, that's been more realistic. That's been more what's happened. And I think Rashford. I mean, to me, this is a completely separate conversation, but I think it's why Rashford's the better player because I think you can play him anywhere, and he'll figure out a way to affect the game. Whereas Martial, I feel like everything needs to be 100% correct for him to play well. Yeah. So I feel like you can more say with Martial. I mean, with Rashford, you take that wing spot and just make it yours. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that's what my lead would be Rashford too.
I think there was something that Arjun actually told me a couple months ago. Actually, he'd noticed that when Martial loses his first take on with a dribble, he then doesn't try and dribble past players again.
That's
interesting. Try and pass it away.
I've not noticed that. It doesn't shock me, but I've not looked at the game that closely. That's interesting.
Yeah, and Rashford, he has the confidence to just keep going and going and going, whereas Martial will then just cut across and find an easier pass. So I think Rashford has to be there, really. I mean, there aren't any other huge candidates.
Well, I think it goes back to what I was saying before, that with Rashford, he's just less maintenance. I feel like I can say to him, here, play defensive mid, and he'll do a job, Or I can say to him, oh, go play right back, and he'll do a job, Whereas Martial, I think you'd lose him if you tried to play him in defensive mid. You'd lose him if you tried to play him at right back. I think of Rashford more of just a soccer player. He's just a footballer. You know what I mean? He'll figure it out. And I think when he was in the academy, I don't follow the academy as close as I used to, but I don't even think he was considered a forward at one point.
He wasn't.
So
no.
I think he was a winger, or I think he was even a midfielder.
He was a number 10 at times.
Yeah, right. And he saw an opening of a way he could make it on the squad, and he took it. So you got to give him credit for that. To me, I think we're both right. I think it's got to be Rashford for that spot.
Absolutely. Well, there we go. We best move on to the striking partnership, and I'll just throw some names about. Obviously, you've got Wayne Rooney, who, while he did dip from that period onwards, he still broke the all-time leading Manchester United goal-scoring record in his 4 seasons at the club post Sir Alex. You've got, obviously, Romelu Lukaku, who, while was only there for 2 seasons, he still scored 42 goals in 96 games.
Yep.
You've got Ibrahimovic, who practically single-handedly won United the Carabao Cup final, as well as had massive impact in the Europa League.
Yep.
And just the feel-good factor back at the club, really.
And the other thing, that's the thing where Ibrahimovic definitely gets consideration, because he really put the club back on the map. I mean, not that they ever left the map, but he made teams fear United again. They were becoming an also-ran, and he really he's I mean, there's no word for it other than he's locked on the club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
he just, his impact over like 2 months was just unreal. But I don't know if it's a long enough period, but he scored 17 goals in like 20 games or something like that.
That's just the Premier League. Yeah, he scored 28 goals in his first season, and then he scored 1 in the next, but that was after the injury. So
correct.
But yeah, there's obviously them to consider. Obviously, we said Martial, and honestly, there aren't many other options that we've had.
No,
at that point,
not really.
Can't really say Van Persie because he was only there for 2 seasons.
1 season, and it was okay. He was a shell of himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think he scored 10 goals or 11, something along that lines.
It was about that.
Yeah. It just wasn't the same. But, and that's really, he really is the demarcation of the era, because the last season of Sir Alex, he was the reason they won the title. And then once he dropped off, the team dropped off. So, on my sheet, I had a version of Martial and Rashford with arrows and stuff. So I think Martial gets in.
Okay.
Because he's been, pretty good for a while, I'd say. And he's hit new heights this year. And then that second spot is the dicey one. I mean, I want to put Zlatan in so bad. But was it long enough? Was it a long enough impact? I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah, I mean, you would be hard-pressed to find footballers at the age of 38 that can still play top division football, and he's one of them. And the fact is that when he joined at the age of, I think, 35, he was still banging in the goals. And I think if he hadn't had that injury, we wouldn't have bought Lukaku. He'd still be there. He might not still be playing at the club as much, but he would still be probably at the club, or whoever knows. But he definitely would have scored more than the 29 goals he did. He probably would have got into his 50s. I'm think.
Sure. Yep.
Especially when Matic came in and Pogba became more attacking, I think he would have scored much more. But I feel nostalgic enough to have picked Rooney, just because even though he wasn't at his best, I think he still got into double figures in all competitions in every campaign he played in. I might be mistaken, but I
think you're right about that. But he was at least the first 2 seasons he hit double figure goals. I think he scored 25 goals in the first 2 seasons post Sir Alex.
And there you go. And the fact is, he broke. Not only did he break the United all-time goal scoring record, he also broke the England goal scoring record as well. But I can't deny Ibrahimovic he was exceptional. I can't deny Lukaku. Probably if Mourinho hadn't been sacked, he would still be there, and he still would be scoring a lot of goals. And he did score some crucial goals. But for me, I'm picking Rooney. I mean, I'm happy. If you're happy with Rooney, I'm.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard to not. The only guy that you can make a case for over Rooney. Actually, no. I mean, you can make a case for Lukaku just because of the number of goals, but the impact Ibrahimovic had was unbelievable. I mean, he won 3 trophies. When he was there, 4 actually. I think he won the Community Shield. I think he famously said, "I've been here 1 day and I already won a trophy," or something like that. I think Rooney's the right call, though. I think he was. If we're going with consistently good, for an extended period, I think you got to go Rooney because his lifetime was just not long enough. I mean, I don't know, but the impact was so amazing. I'll go with you. I'll go with Rooney because I think it's hard to leave him out when you leave the and they have to go with this too. I think this might be the deciding factor. I think he led the team in goals 2 seasons post Sir Alex. So that's it's hard to leave that guy out, right? If you're the team leader in goals in 2 seasons post Sir Alex, that's got to be a deciding factor, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And fact is, he was the captain till he left, really. So,
correct.
Well, when Vidic left, anyway.
He's got a lot of little feathers in his cap. I mean, with Zlatan, where the impact was huge, it was short-lived. B, he wasn't even on. I mean, again, not his fault. Wasn't even on the field for the Europa final because he was injured.
Mm-hmm.
Was planned around the next season, and really his not being there was really cost them the next season. You know, he was a major impactful player that was missing that really cost the team.
Yeah. Can I ask you about that? Do you think that if he had stayed fit, and well, he hadn't got the injury and he would have played, do you think that United would have won the league that year, the 17-18 season?
That's a really good question. They had a lot of momentum going. That 17-18 squad. That was an interesting team because that team it seemed to just fall apart for them that season, didn't it?
Because it was going so well, and then it all just sort of crumbled.
It just crumbled.
Crumbled when Sanchez joined.
That didn't help. I was so excited when that happened. Oh my God, was I excited when that happened? I thought that was going to be like a major piece. I thought it was going to impact the team like pretty much how Bruno has. But he was just, wow, what a flop. Gosh, yeah, that team was poised, and then it just seemed to take all the wind out. Like they seemed to just go where Zlatan took them, And then once he fell off the table like that, it just the whole thing just crumbled.
Shattering, wasn't it?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they would have won the league. Man, it's tough because they were so thin. You know what I mean? They weren't a very deep squad. I don't know if they had the talent that it need. I mean, the fact that one player goes down and it really kills them. I don't know. What do you think? I would say no. My gun to my head, I'd say no.
Yeah, I would probably say no as well. But at the same time, what I am thinking is that if Ibrahimovic did stay fit, United might have got a little bit higher in the table, done a little bit better, and maybe that would have meant that Perisic got signed anyway instead of Sanchez because we didn't need the big forward with the lots of money because Ibra was still there. So I would be expecting. I'd still say they would have got a higher points tally. They would have won a few more games. Not the fact that Lukaku didn't do something. It's nothing to do with that. It's more to do with the fact that, well, he's Ibrahimovic, and he's a game changer when he can be, even at 36, 37 years old.
Yeah.
So, I'd say they would have done better, but again, they wouldn't have won the league because that City side was just so.
I mean, that's what I was wondering. That City side was just so talented, but they were on cruise control for a while,
Yeah,
and you wonder if there was a challenge, if they had if some team had gotten within 6 points, 9 points, 7 points, even 12, because once it gets 12, it starts getting dicey, because it's 4 games,
Mm-hmm.
If it gets that single digits, gets cut to that single digit, you start to wonder. But man, he definitely would have made a difference. There's no question about that. But wow, it really took the wind out of their sails, and the fact that they still finished second after that devastation, just leads you to believe that they might have been capable of making a charge. But yeah, that City team was so good, and that was on a mission. That team really wanted to win the title. So yeah, I think we're right. I think it's a no, but I think it's definitely makes it closer because I mean people forget Zlatan was that impactful. I mean he was that good, you know.
Absolutely.
But,
yeah. Well, I mean there we have it. I mean that's our team. We've got De Gea in goal, obviously, and then Valencia in the right of the defense, Smalling and Maguire in the center, and Luke Shaw on the left. Our midfield two is the one that played in the 2016-17 season of Pogba and Herrera. We've got Mata on the right, Rashford on the left, and Martial and Wayne Rooney up front. What we haven't done yet is obviously the manager. Is it well, I mean, is there a debate, or are we going to say the most successful manager?
I'm going to say, to me, it's no debate. To me, it's clearly Mourinho because he won trophies. But I think Van Gaal is an interesting case because he kind of changed the direction. But then the direction fell apart. So was it a good direction? To me, it's Mourinho. It's got to be Mourinho. It fell apart on him, but you know that's how it always goes with Mourinho. But that would be my pick. How about you?
Absolutely, I think he has been the best Manchester United manager since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. I think next season we would be considering Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a lot more. Depends on what we would have won this season, because obviously we were still in two competitions. We had a very good chance of going through to the next rounds of both of them. I think it would be the semi-final of the Europa League and the quarterfinals of the Europa League and the semi-finals of the FA Cup. And that's massive. And I think our team would handle the small teams well and the big teams well. So we probably could have won both of them as well as.
And you have to wonder how it would have went with Mourinho had the board allowed him to do what he really wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and would it have been just a different story instead of where it's been, where it's just been,
what I do think is I think that then we would have had Maguire a season earlier.
Correct.
I think we probably would have had Perisic and Martial would have left. I also think that Pogba would have gone too, and we probably would have got someone like, Toni Kroos was the one that was being linked with the move, and Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, so that might have gone through too, depending on how or whether Paul Pogba would have sorted himself out. I don't know.
Yeah,
things would have definitely been different.
It's almost like the entire squad would have been completely different, and you'd have to think for the better, because Mourinho doesn't do rebuilds, and he doesn't do prospects. He does stars. I mean, that's he's why Zlatan came, and it's gonna we're gonna see it again where he's at now. Like he's in that power struggle again. Like he wants to go for it, and they're kind of tightening their purse strings, and you have to wonder how that's going to play out, because he doesn't settle. I mean, it went bad at United because they wanted him to settle, and it was, and he's not going to do that. So, then once things don't go his way, he makes noise and he gets shown the door. So,
do you think that will happen at Tottenham?
I think it could, because I mean, it's just isn't it just the pattern with him? I mean, gosh, I mean, it doesn't look like he's got the squad he wants right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, no one wants that squad right now.
No. So it's whether they let him go for it or not. But it doesn't seem, from what I read, and again, I'm not as plugged into Tottenham as other squads, but I mean, it doesn't seem like they're willing to go that far for him. What do you think? Am I reading that wrong from afar?
No, I mean, I think the fact is that whenever you join a season halfway through, like what Solskjaer did, like what Arteta's done, like what Jose has done, you don't have the squad you want because you can't change things as dramatically as you can in the summer, as you can in January. I think the fact is he got Bergwijn in, but everyone knew he wanted a lot more, and Daniel Levy was not happy to do that yet. The fact is that the team's injuries have been really detrimental. I mean, Kane obviously was a massive loss. Then who else? Bergwijn got injured, and Son got suspended and injured, and who else? Danny Rose left. Eriksson left. I mean, they had some huge losses. Lloris got injured too. That could not have helped because Gazzaniga is a pretty bang average goalkeeper as opposed to a World Cup winner in Lloris. I think things haven't helped him, but I think the fact is that when he does push for signings, Levy does want to get involved in them, and that will always cause a problem because if he says no, Mourinho will throw a strop. And that's not being cynical in my sense. That is just what happens. If he doesn't get his way, he does get annoyed, and he makes it very clear that he's annoyed. So I think that is a ticking time bomb. But I think as long as Tottenham can win trophies, because they have the capability, they have the team, it's just whether they have the mentality. So it's really up in the air, but I do think he will probably last another season before he leaves or he's pushed out.
Exactly. Like with him, I think you've nailed it completely. Like with him, it always comes to a head, and it's who's going to win the power struggle. Is it going to be? Is it going to be? I was going to say Van Gaal. Is it going to be Mourinho, or is it going to be? The sporting director or the owner? And if it doesn't go Mourinho's way, he causes a stir.
Yeah.
So, and he just doesn't do. I mean, and to an extent, I agree with him. Like, if you're going to bring him in, it's not like it's a secret who Mourinho is, right?
Yeah, he doesn't compromise at all, and everyone should know that by now.
Exactly. So you can't. It's almost like if you're dating someone and they're super, if they're really like selfish, right? And they're selfish all the time, and then you still date them, and then they continue to act selfish, and then you get upset with it. It's like this isn't like news to you.
Yeah.
It's like it's how they always were. So why are you acting like
it's a shock?
Exactly. Like how are they? How is it like? Well, what do you mean I can't get involved in the signings? I don't understand. Like I'm the director. I should be involved. And he's like, no, that's not how I do it. So again, I don't know why.
I mean, at the same time, I'm pretty sure Mourinho knows that Levy likes to have control over the signings, and he likes to be quite involved with it, as like Ed Woodward was until a few months ago. When he's no longer involved with who gets signed. He will still try and sign them. He's the one that does the contract deals and everything, but he's no longer actually involved with recruitment. Whereas Daniel Levy is very involved, and obviously Mourinho knew that too. So, I mean, there's two very stubborn people in there.
Correct.
So we'll see who comes out on top, I guess.
Right. And again, it's like I was just saying, like, it's not, these are known things. This is not, and again, it goes back to, and I think what it actually goes back to, I think where people are like, well, why would people who are, you can call us fans, you can call us podcasters, whatever, why would we think we know more than the players involved and the managers involved? And it's not so much that we know more, it's that I think all these guys have such egos that, he might think, Mourinho's like that, but I'll convince him that he's wrong.
And the other way around as well.
And right. And Mourinho's like, well, I'm going to make him see it my way. So I think where we look at it through the lens of where we're not in the situation, we can see it from a mile away, or in my case, far more than a mile away. But we kind of know, well, it's not going to work out. Like, these guys have these huge huge egos, and it's just not going to work. They're not going to. Neither one's going to kowtow for the other. So I think that's how I see it. I don't think it's going to go well at all for him there.
No.
I think it's going to play out the way it always does, unfortunately.
Because history tends to repeat itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I think he's a great manager. I think when he's gotten what he needs to get, he does well.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
That's how I feel.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he has been the most successful and probably the best, like we said. And we'll just see how Solskjaer can deal with trying to win trophies. We just have to wait and see. And honestly, I'm excited. But yeah, we've done our lineup. Would you like to do 5 honorable?
Yeah, you know what? I'll close with that because I did have some honorable mentions. I think Ibra's got to be the number one name on that list because I was the one that I just barely left off, and I think that would have been it for me. And I wanted to say Fellaini, but no,
I did too. Actually,
I can't do it. I can't pull the trigger. But he had some huge moments. He
was crucial. He was really crucial for Moyes, I guess. For Van Gaal definitely, and for Mourinho even more.
Mm-hmm.
But
he was a difference maker. He was a match changer. He was the kind of guy who you could put on the field if something wasn't working. Like, okay, this attack is just not working. We're just gonna pump balls into the box and try to get a header and score. And you could do that. You could put him in and more than occasionally he scored. And every goal he scored was huge. He didn't score like tack on, you're already up 4-0 and he scores a goal. It wasn't like that. He would score, equalizers and late winners. No one he was so hated, but but he had huge moments. Huge.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was just it was the player that it was almost an anti-football player, if you'll sort of allow me that kind of crude description of it. But it was more like, we're just not going to bother doing all the neat little passes or the Pep Guardiola football, and we just pump the balls, like you said, pump the balls into the box and just see what he can do, because he is, and Belgium still uses it. So, I mean, it's just, he did do such a good job. And I did think that, it does show, it makes a statement that Solskjaer let him leave when he did, because obviously he could have done a good job as a sub player or a squad player, as he has done. So there was that option, but obviously Solskjaer didn't fancy it, and neither did Fellaini. So I guess they parted ways. But he could have been very helpful when things were not going so well for Solskjaer.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't understand letting him go. I mean, I was in the minority there, but I didn't get it. I never got it. I didn't really understand letting Lukaku walk. I know people have said that the player wanted to leave, but I think the player wanted to leave because, people always try to do that, to turn it around and blame it on the manager, saying that the player wanted to leave. And they do it for Lukaku and they do it for Fellaini. But I think the double side of that coin that no one ever mentions is, the player wants to leave because the manager says, I'm not going to play you. So that's why they want to go.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, obviously with Lukaku, the situation was different, I think, because with Fellaini it was more about game time, and I think with Lukaku it was more about the style, because Lukaku was playing on the right-hand side of a false 9, I think.
Correct.
And he didn't like that, and so he didn't want to play in Solskjaer's formation, so he knew when he had to leave. I think the difference is that, the difference is that when it cut, I mean, I believe Solskjaer, I'm under the impression that Solskjaer did say you can fight for your place.
Correct.
But Lukaku didn't want to.
Right, and exactly. But I think we're both in a different way saying the same thing. Like the manager basically lays out, I'm not going to play the style you want to play, and you can fight for your place. And at that point, the player turns around and goes, well, I don't want to do either of those things. So, so I'll leave, Whereas, if Luke, if Solskjaer wanted to keep him around, he could have said, "Look, I don't normally play the style you want to play. I understand if it doesn't really fit you, but I do envision doing parts of the match where we're going to play a way to fit your style. Does that work for you? Or I'll change my style to fit you because you're my best goal scorer and we need to score goals." Or again, the power struggle, Solskjaer obviously didn't want to do that, which I'm fine with because Solskjaer, ultimately he's in charge and he has to play the way he wants to play. But, if you're going to lay it out for the player, hey, we're not going to do what you want to do. And by the way, we're not guaranteeing your place anymore. If I'm the player, I'm leaving too. I'm just saying I wouldn't have had it play out. If I'm managing the squad, Lukaku is one of the first players I go to and say, "Look, you're my best goal scorer. We're going to make it work.
Yeah.
Can you give me a year?" So he probably would say yes.
Yeah.
But
it's just how it is, isn't it? It's just
right. And in that model, the way I managed, if I had the team and I took over when Solskjaer took over, maybe Lukaku's still in my squad, maybe Fellaini's still in my squad, but maybe I lose Martial, So it's just kind of like personal styles are going to fit certain players. And,
obviously, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it was never going to work with the two of them unless Solskjaer bent, and Solskjaer was never going to bend.
No.
So, there you go.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Does he get in your honourable mention, Lukaku?
I think, he scored a bunch of goals.
Yeah.
You'd have to give him an honorable mention. He did have limitations to his game. Obviously, his hold-up play was not good at all. Especially for a man that size. Like, by accident, he should be good in hold-up play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you have to give him an honorable mention. I think he scored a ton I don't know the exact number, but it was a ton of goals.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And for a spell, he was popular. They were singing songs about him, So
yeah, that is very true. I think, as well. I think I think you have to sort of say the impact Matic had when he first joined. That was exceptional. He basically just gave the other midfielders and attackers a whole new lease of life, and they just got to play a little bit more, freely, I guess, in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of just, he released them in that, he allowed Mkhitaryan to have a free role. He allowed Lukaku and Rashford and Mata to just get forward when they wanted to. Martial when he came on. And Pogba was just, he was a world beater at times with Matic.
Yes.
And he's come back to kind of similar form of late. But we will, we can see how he develops next season, obviously signing a new, I think, 2-year deal.
Right.
But he's one that is an honourable mention for me.
Yeah, I think one more you mentioned just now would be Matic. I think he's got to get an honorable mention too. I think he was at times very, very good. It's just toward the end of his career here, so he's not quite fit as often. He can't quite run as many games in a row, especially with the style he plays.
Yeah.
But I think he has to get a mention as well. I think he's had moments where he's been very, very good.
Really,
and scored one of the best goals I've ever seen.
Against Crystal Palace?
Yes. Oh my gosh, what a goal.
And it was a winner, and it was last minute. It was amazing.
Shocking. It was one of those you didn't even react to it because you just didn't even
expect it.
You didn't expect it, A, and B, it's one of those you can't believe your eyes. You're like, that's not really in the net, is it?
Yeah.
It's got to be over the net. No, it's in the net. Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Shocking.
But Matic definitely has to be there. I can't think of anyone else that should go for an honourable mention. I think, like you said at the beginning, Sergio Romero has been.
Yeah, I think you got to give him a mention. He's won trophies. He's been, when called upon, he's been very good. You got to get a mention, but he's just so not in the same stratosphere as De Gea that it's not even discussable, really.
Yeah.
Just because De Gea is just, you can't even make a a 1A argument against De Gea being the starter. He just has to be.
Well, people are trying to with Dean Henderson, but I don't think they're going to get close, really.
No.
Not yet, anyway.
And I think that's also a case of people. Well, there's like I mean, not to go too far down this road because it doesn't really fit what we're talking about. But there's some people. There's two types of fans in any sport, that I've noticed in the modern world of sports. You've got those that want to compete for championships every single year, and if they're not competing for a championship, they don't want to even watch. And then there are others who are just along the same line as that fan, but they obsess with tearing everything down and rebuilding. That's what their obsession is. So I think the ones that are really pushing for Dean Henderson are ones that want to see a complete fire sale. They want to see De Gea gone. They want to see Mata gone. They want to see Matic gone. They want to see Pogba gone. They want to see, they want massive wholesale changes, sell everybody, start over, sell Rashford, even though he's young, because you can get tons of money and then reinvest it in teenagers and find the next golden generation. That's, that fan, I think, is the one that wants Dean Henderson.
I think that's absolutely bang on. Yeah. I think he's got a little bit of time left. I think maybe go on loan another season, then Romero will be 34 and then compete, but not right now, I don't think.
No. Especially with De Gea still being so good. I mean, he's not quite what he was, but he's still really good.
Yeah, 100%.
And the last thing you want is a goalie problem.
Yeah.
We haven't had to deal with that in like 20 years. And it's not a good thing.
No.
It's not what you want. Wondering if the simplest of shots are going to get stopped. And I've seen teams where it's like that, and it's horrible.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just sort of. I mean, it was when sorry, if I'm not mistaken, it was when Schmeichel left, and we were in between Van der Sar, pretty much.
Correct.
And
that's really before my time. Like, I'm aware of it, but it's really before my time.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right, and we'll just see how things go. But we have our lineup, obviously, and we have our manager. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss before we finish?
No, I think we're good. I think we kind of have a lot of our manager. I mean, I know we were thinking about possibly seeing whether that squad would beat this squad, and I think it would be interesting because it's mostly the same squad. So it would be tough. I think that squad would beat this current squad though, because it's got, it has Herrera on it. It's got Rooney, and we're talking about Rooney in like 2015. So not like 2020 Rooney. So, I think that squad would beat the current one. What do you think?
This one doesn't have Bruno Fernandes.
That's a fair point.
Or Wan-Bissaka. So, I don't know, actually.
That's interesting. It's interesting because I really, part of me when I sat down to do this team sheet, it was tough because, there are guys I want to put on there, but their impact was just so short.
Yeah.
Like, either in the case of, Ibrahimovic, it was injury, and in the case of Bruno and Wan-Bissaka, it's because it's only been like 25 games.
Yeah.
So, and with Bruno, it's like 10 games. Not even. It's like 6, isn't it?
It's scary, isn't it? How much he's done.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't put those names on the sheet and be realistic unless you're trying to say, look, these are the best players we've had. Because I think that's a separate conversation, maybe for a different a different podcast. The best players they've had since Sir Alex left, and I think then you could talk about names like Wan-Bissaka and Bruno and Ibrahimovic. Because for that, that's a different conversation. But when you're talking about the best players they've had, it could have been one game that they had them. Correct, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean, then you could consider Vidic and Ferdinand and Evra and all of them as well.
Because he was on the squad still.
Yeah.
And not performing because he was old, but still on the team. So, that's a great point. Again,
Well, yeah, well then there we are. That is all we have time for this week. Thank you for listening, and once again, thank you to Jayson for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Next week, we will be having another mystery guest, and we will be discussing the top 10 Premier League transfers of the 2019 to 2020 windows and ranking their success so far. If you have any topics or any questions you would like for us to discuss, then please comment below on the video or on the Twitter or Facebook posts. And if you enjoyed this, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Twitter for all of our content.